everyone, it's Maria from J'adore le papier, here to record a flip through of this small prayer journal that I made to honor Saint Therese of the Child Jesus, the French saint. She's actually my patron saint. Weather is finally good enough to get some clear shots, but this is basically a small antique book, French book from French billet doux. It's 4 1/4 wide, just 6 3/4 tall, and the spine is just under 2 inches. And the altered book, the covers, I went ahead and sealed using Mod Podge after cleaning it up, just so that it wouldn't continue to wear down. I did reinforce it in a couple of spots by stitching it to the spine just to give it strength, and then I covered it with some gold leaf. It has a leather closure just to keep it cinched like a little tiny Bible. It is really a journal for writing. So I mostly used antique and vintage ledgers and book pages, just because I love the feel and the texture, and the book itself is so old. It's 163 years old, so I wanted to keep all of that grunge in place. The spine is built using a vintage French linen flax from Miab, and then this antique lace is, I believe this one is from Sampool. And the lace itself is actually hollow, so you can put, anything down under the spine if you like, just like this pin, which you could unattach and attach to the actual bookmark that I made using vintage ribbon, and then 3 antique beads from a rosary from Heather at Ruby and Pearl XO. And I believe this little prayer medallion is also from her. It has Jesus on one side and then the child Jesus on the other. This embroidered flower is supposed to represent the little flower, which is what Saint Therese is known as. I embroidered it with a loose loop just to make it look like the little rose that her father gave her, the white rose. And then just embroidered it right on top of the lace itself. Okay, so I'll just open this up here. On the inside cover, I used end papers made from 1850 ledger paper, and I printed Raindrop Lila by Lydia. This is her vintage Christmas or Christmas Elegance digital kit. I just loved the age patina to it. And then I added little prayer cards throughout the journal from my friend's mom. Her name is Marie, so these cards are from 1950s, her childhood. This little tuck here is actually a vintage or possibly antique lace from Donna Morgan, and I just love the look of that, again with the patina and just the structure of it, because Saint Therese's mom is actually a lace maker from Alençon, and she was actually very successful. So this is Saint Therese, age 3. This is about 1.5 years before her mom actually died. So it's kind of a sad upbringing, but with a happy ending. So again, the inside covers using a lot of antique ledger. And since Saint Therese was born in Alençon, which is in Normandy, France, just on the southern border of Normandy there, and then she eventually made her way to Lisieux. This is actually a 1600s map, so it's spelled Lisieux up here. But she was born 1873, and again, she's known as a little flower. I have placed a lot of prayer cards. I tried to leave most of them blank just for you to add your own prayers. This one happens to be on khadi or cotton paper from India. I tried to use the most fine vintage or antique laces just to keep the book fairly thin or as flat, no alligator mouth if possible, so there's not a lot of embellishment added to the pages other than the different ledger papers and prayer cards. So this is also a prayer, anything with a picture on it, I tried to back with vintage or antique ledger paper, again to try and keep it thin. The book itself is called Trois Cousins, and I tried to keep some of the pages because, again, it's from 1860, so I love the story. And the funny thing about this story is The father moves the children to the countryside after the mother dies and moves them into a country cottage or sort of chateau, which is exactly what happened with Saint Therese. When she was 4.5 after her mother died, the father actually moved them away from Alençon into the countryside near her cousins, 2 of her cousins in Lisieux. So I kept that there, and you can actually Mod Podge if you like, right over, or not Mod Podge, but gesso over the pages if you want, but I love the story. It's the sweetest story. And then some mostly French pages. These are homework pages, and I just loved how it looked like the cross there. But what I'll do is I'll flip through and I'll just call anything out on the screen. Again, these are all little journaling cards on the back. This is her mom, Zelie, and she was the lace maker. And she died at age 45, so Saint Therese was actually 4.5. And this is an example of lace Alençon. It's basically a needlepoint thread with a mesh background is the style. And then I just put on there what it's called, the Queen of Lace or Pont d'Alençon on the back. So you'll find little tucks throughout and a lot of lace. And of course, she's known as the little flower, so I love that this homework has flowers there. This is her father, Louis. Both her mother and father became beatified or were made saints by the church. He was a watchmaker, but he actually gave up his business and sold it to his nephew to run his wife's very, very successful lace business. So I just backed it with a little wool there, and of course your journal spot. And then a lot of antique music pages. Most of the other music pages you'll find are actually from a 1700s missal from France, and it's in Latin. But a lot of, again, writing space. This is her mother and father, and you could probably see in a close-up some of the lace around her collar, which is probably lace she either made or, I would guess she probably made that lace. But this is back in 2008, both Zelie and Louis were made saints or beatified by the church. You'll see, because a lot of the antique ledger paper is quite brittle, as I was stitching it, again, I used the traditional bookbinding style. I used a French link with Coptic stitch, and then I backed the whole text block with mull to give it some flexibility. So as you're writing in it and you press down, it actually gives it strength and flexibility for the pages. So here's a little bit of the 1700s French missal music sheet in Latin. I tried to preserve them for you in full, just so if you read music or love to sing, you'll actually have that. And it just shows the patina and age. So I kept this booklet fairly grungy, just to maintain all of the antique page style. And again, her family was very religious. The parents wanted to just instill the importance of Jesus and God in their lives. So daily prayer at 5:30 a.m. between November and December 1887, Therese, her sister Celine, and their father actually went to Rome for a 1-month pilgrimage, and this is where she meets Pope Leo to ask him if she can join the church to become a nun. And Pope Leo responds by saying, if it's meant to be, she will be, so thy will be done.